The moderator will be taking on Dr. Ahmed Haji, and he will be introducing to us the rest of the program. We are to start with the keynote, and from there we will be diving into the panel discussion, which is the gist of the matter to why we're here. Maybe to remind you, we are here in the name of revisiting Islamic institutions by way of drawing our attentions to capacity building within these institutions. As organizers, we came to realize that among the problems we have faced as the Muslim community is because Muslim professionals have taken a step back to take on the mantle of leadership and governance within Islamic institutions. When we talk about Islamic institutions, they cut across without leaving any behind. So it's high time professionals and those with capacity to manage such institutions, you came back and take the mantle of leadership and governance in these institutions. I won't take much of your time because it's already gone. I welcome Brother Sheikh Bulaf to give us a prayer and officially open and start this program, as others will be joining us in the due course. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. صدق الله العظيم.
بسم الله الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. آمين ثم آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. I am actually having a challenge with the setup of the room, so I am trying my level best to get a sense of control. But I just have a polite request that we occupy the front seats. That's one, just to reorganize the seating arrangements a bit. My request is kindly we occupy the front seats. And then two is I'm going to request that we sit in an Islamic way. I want to apologize for my faith, alhamdulillah. So I'm the moderator, I'll be your task leader. My name is Ahmed Haji, just keep it Ahmed Haji. And I'm happy to be the moderator. So if we don't mind, we have lost almost an hour and 25 minutes, so I'm going to be spinning a bit faster. So kindly, can we occupy the front seats? So the ladies will be on the right side, I guess. Left side, yeah? No political leanings. I studied international relations. When you say left, right, those mean a lot politically. But just to be sure that, yeah, yes, my sisters would sit on the left side, my brothers would sit on the right side, and we occupy the front table, then the other table, so that we have a very close engagement. I trust we're going to have a very good session. I believe in the Rahman. Okay. Okay. Council, we can't start when you're at the back. We can't apologize for the rain because the rain is barakah, and Allah tells us in the Quran that I'll give you rain, and then rain, there'll be fruits, there'll be lots of abundance, but as Muslims, for us, the rain is barakah, and whoever is meant to be with us, it's for the grace and the mercy of Allah that we are all here. My name is Ahmed Haji. I work with the Center for Policy and Strategic Studies. That's my professional side. But when it comes to Islamic charity, Islamic giving back to my faith and community, I work with Sheikh Mohammed Abdweli Abdallah of Tawheed Mosque. That's part of my community. I grew up in Kisenyi. So, but we do a lot of work with Iman Foundation. So we into schools from nursery up to the university. So we have a nursery, we have a Quran memorization school, we have a high school, and we also have a university as well, where we partner with the Islamic University of Kenya. My background is academics, but I just wanted to put that context because we are in a Muslim brothers and Muslim sisters space. Just to let you know that I also deal with institutions on a regular basis, especially education and strategy related institutions. As you're well aware that we have a session to reflect on our institutional leadership or different institutional leadership, but I just wanted us to understand that we will actually flow as I will state. We'll have a keynote talk, someone to set us, to get us started, and we will limit this keynote presentation to about 20 minutes because of time. And then later on, I will have a deep dive conversation with a team of selected brothers and sisters. Just to let you know that a team of 3 brothers and a sister, just to go a bit deeper and try to make sense of some of the insights that could have been shared by the keynote speaker. And then eventually, of course, we'll open up the floor for a Q&A for questions, answers, feedback, or any suggestions that are in. I want to begin by thanking Allah for the gift of life and thanking the organizers. And of course, as Muslims, we send our prayers and salutations to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because it was his prophetic leadership that we model as an example, be it in financial management, entrepreneurship setup, education, or any other sectors of life, be it engineering, architectural. I mean, Islam is actually a mode of life. It's a mode of holistic life. I just want, before I invite our keynote speaker, I want to highlight key messages that I was reflecting on when I was told to provide, to be the moderator of this particular session. As someone who has a background of academics, I had to dig a bit deeper. And there are these very important notes that I want to share, maybe to trigger our thoughts before we have an expert who comes to give us a keynote. In this particular paper that was written by a Muslim brother, he says that the world is rapidly changing and encountering challenges brought about by modernization. Unfortunately, the Muslim Ummah has an inability of leadership. And yet leadership is an Islamic responsibility, and it's an Islamic call. Because we shun to accept that leadership, more especially prophetic leadership, changed the world in all spheres of life and all professions of life, or all vocations of life. As we're well aware that Islam shaped the architectural setup of the world, architecture, engineering, medicine, education, that the gowns today that we see being adorned during the graduations are a craft and a make of Islam. Islam shaped all sorts of disciplines like philosophy and all the thinking. Entrepreneurship was actually an Islamic vocation because all these so-called trade routes and caravans were all actually discovered with the advent of Islam. But why are we not leading? That's a question that maybe we need to rethink about. Because many of us think that leadership is basically a political realm, and we fail to realize that leadership actually is within our own spaces. If we choose to lead, we only focus on religious leadership, and we've only defined religious leadership for those who have attained Islamic science education. We leave it to the sheikhs, we leave it to the ulamas, we leave it to the ustadhas. And we fail to recognize that we are more stronger when we lead within our own spheres of influence and our own spheres of engagement. Where are the engineers? And show me the Muslim Association of Engineers in this country. Where are the teachers? Of course, the teachers will tell you that show me the Muslim Teachers Association here. Where are the Muslim hotel owners? Where are the Muslim financial professionals that are dealing with how do we create and digitize finance? Where are the Muslim nurses? Show me where the Muslim doctors are. And where are the Muslim professionals in all professionals? Show me the Association of Muslim Business People if we claim that the Muslim business community is actually a Ugandan community. Where are the Muslim pediatricians? Show me where they are. Because it's in these professionals that we amass influence, we amass networks, and we eventually reproduce opportunities. So as we reflect on leadership, we need to extend the horizon of leadership, not to look at leadership just within the precincts of the mosque or within our own families. But it's important to recognize that the engineers, the nurses, the financial professionals, the teachers, the Muslim public servants, where is an association that brings together all Muslim civil service or civil servants in this country? Because these professional associations will be at the basis for us to apply the Islamic values in them, but also push the professional development, network among each other, but most importantly, encourage the mentorship and the growth. The world is for those who are leading, it's not for those who are following. As it stands, institutional leadership is not going to be limited to our own small mosques and our own communities. These professional associations in professional disciplines are the ones that will eventually build strong Islamic centers in different areas. And these Islamic centers will be business centers, there will be centers of recreation, and there will be centers of lifelong empowerment and transformation. And I end my quote. So that's something that I crafted when I was actually thinking about this session. So I think the challenge for me is, where are those, we're into the world of technology and people are talking about fintech. Where are the Muslim fintech entrepreneurs that are going to marry Islamic finance or Islamic economics within this kind of realm of opportunities that are growing? People are into tech pay, but where are the opportunities with the doctors? Where are the doctors? Where are the architectures? Where are these associations that are professional associations? That once they get a contract, then you know that there will be something that comes back to the Muslim community. So if we don't for me, that's the focus that I wanted to draw this conversation, and I just want to really, like I said, appreciate those who have got us into this beautiful space. It's my first time here, mashallah, tabarakallah, and I guess you all enjoyed the breakfast as well as I did. So as someone who doesn't have lunch, I enjoyed the breakfast as well. But without time, allow me invite Dr. Mujabi Shafiq. He's actually a lecturer and a researcher at Makerere University Business School. So Dr. Mujabi, if you're around, kindly, let's give him a big round of applause, if you may, and I believe you all will do when I say that we give him a big round of applause. Doctor, you're welcome, and you have 20 minutes. You're welcome. Tafadhal mashkuran.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We thank the Almighty Allah to to have enabled us to come here and try to discuss this very noble cause at a time when it is actually long overdue. When I was invited to make this keynote address, all I could think about are the points that Ahmed Haji has actually talked about. And I looked at my life through the realm of Muslim, or what we call Islamic institutions, and I will share my insights. I've been teaching at university level for the last 17 years, and being part of the Muslim Students Associations as a student and as an academic, I've seen a number of issues which require our attention as professionals. Muslim institutions or Islamic institutions have come a long way, and we have not seen any rejuvenation from the way they were started up to the time that they need certain changes to be made. Most of these institutions, be it schools, universities, businesses, started as simple associations whose foundation, whose focus was to preserve spiritual and Islamic knowledge and Islamic identity. And we can be sure that they have done their job in that aspect. If the aspect is spiritual preservation, spiritual knowledge, and dawah, that they have done. They are doing, and we are sure they will keep doing. However, the challenges of the modern world need us to rethink, and not just to rethink, we need to think back and look at the times of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we think about how to rejuvenate these institutions. We agree that most of these institutions are led from a spiritual leadership point of view, and all of us know that. We can look at from the public institutions which are completely public, like the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. We'll look at also other public-private partnerships. We look at secondary schools which are owned both by private individuals and also owned by government in a way. And then we also look at the many private institutions. We have come a long way from the fact that we used to be called only traders. The history of this country sees many Islamic institutions and Islamic businesses as simple traders. Simple traders who were just in the beginning given still simple issues like preservation of spiritual attributes, like the butchery. You remember when we were told that it's only Muslims who are supposed to do what? To slaughter animals. And this is why you see that there is an exclusive business for what? For Muslims, and those are the butcheries. Alhamdulillah, we've moved out from there, and there are traditional businesses which have come out of that. Car importation and exportation, this is a business completely, almost 90% by Muslims. Metal fabrication, the whole of Katwe and Chisenyi, you can actually look at it and say, this is Islamic business, because that is where we went to, especially when our fathers and grandfathers only pushed us to Quran schools, and they did not push us into secular education. Car importation, construction, real estate, and of recent labor export. And I will talk about a few of those to see where our woes are coming from. Most of the organizations and the institutions in labor export have now, because they are serving not only the Muslim community, they have actually opened themselves up for what? For public scrutiny. And most of the problems which Islamic institutions face have painted a bad picture to the whole of the Islamic what? The Islamic faith. Of recent, what is happening at UMSC has made Muslims a laughing stock, isn't it? And we can no longer shy away from talking about it. And Allah, forgive us. I will make these statements and I will try not to be very much political. We should accept and we should understand that the sheikhs cannot be the people in charge of asset management. They shouldn't be. The sheikhs cannot be in charge of financial management. Spiritual leadership is bent only on trust. But the modern management systems are not about trust, they're about accountability. And this accountability cannot be simply learned from memorizing the Quran. Why? Because we have mainstream standards. We have accounting standards. We have financial standards. And I can assure you, what is most embarrassing that Muslims today, in various capacities in private and public institutions, are managing billions and billions of shillings in assets in other companies. I will tell you, and I will not mention names here. MultiChoice, headed by Muslims, isn't it? You can mention everywhere. Procurement, go to the PPDA and see how many Muslims are making things happen there. Go to Uganda Revenue Authority and you see that the Muslims are there. But we have a problem. If they are our own, we look at them as what? As useless. It is the same way we have grown up in leadership in our homes. I, Dr. Shafiq, when I go to my home, they say, Ka Shafiq Kako. Isn't it? And we are used to that. And maybe, when I actually have to do any professional work in a Muslim organizations, I will not be compensated because I'm what? I'm a Muslim. I should actually do that what? On a voluntary basis. Whereas when I go elsewhere in a non-Muslim institution, I'm actually what? I'm actually paid. And those are some of the issues why many of our professionals have run away from managing Islamic what? Institutions, because they feel they are not what? Appreciated. So, what is the problem with spiritual leadership? And I will talk about two issues here. Spiritual leadership versus technical what? Technical leadership. This is the time for us to try our level best and bring all professionals together. I appreciate the role that the Uganda Muslim Lawyers Association has done, but we need to understand that if we are going to draft a new constitution for the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council, it is not the sheikhs who are going to do that. It is the Muslim lawyers who will do that, because they can consistently put into context what the constitution of this country says. You can look at what we've gone through over the last month. We have a new mufti, and another mufti, another injunction, and another injunction, another, and all that. And who is the best to understand this? The public is not aware and doesn't have the faculties of understanding to understand all these legal jargons, except the what? The lawyers. And I think it is long overdue that the Uganda Muslim Lawyers Association can take up the mantle to redraft another UMSC what? Constitution.
If they allow.
If they allow. So, and what are some of the problems that we've seen? Number one, individualism and personalization. Whether it is private or public or private-public partnerships for Islamic institutions, what are the problems we've seen? Is that because most of these institutions and organizations and companies were started on an individual voluntary basis, they think that they can carry out all the activities up to the modern day using individualism and what? Personalization, which is not the case. We look at many Islamic institutions where you cannot separate the chairman, the founder, and the financial from the company itself. And that violates all principles of what? Corporate governance. Number two, the professionalism. As we've talked about this, we should understand, we should know, and we should enhance and support professionalism at whatever what? At whatever cost. You cannot manage billions of assets in Muslim assets using a sheikh who has just a what? Competence in what? In Sharia. While we actually drop all the professionals that can understand the transparency, the fairness, and all the technical aspects that comes with what? With managing assets. Number 3, we have a lot of financial management people. And I will specifically talk about banks here, which are in the aspect of finance. Today, everyone is trying to run away from riba, isn't it? But let me tell you, what options do we have? What options do we have? If we don't have the options for Islamic banking, when the sheikhs talk about Islamic banking, all they can talk about is what? Riba, isn't it? But Islamic finance and Islamic banking goes beyond just what? Riba. And the traditional banks that we knew could save us in this situation are not as Islamic as actually we thought. Tell most Muslims where they bank, and they will be safer to say Tropical Bank and Cairo Bank. And all of us know that these are not as Islamic as we actually what? Hope to. But these banks have not taken up the mantle. It's actually the banks which are new and small savings circles which have taken the mantle, and thanks to Hijaz Finance, thanks to Salam Bank. But let me tell you, we have a number of Muslim professionals who have studied in Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, and even IU, and they have not taken up the mantle because they've not been called. We feel the embarrassment every day that the people talking about Islamic banking are even non-Muslims, isn't it? And it is an embarrassment when we have all these professionals around us and we have not used them. Because of, in the interest of time, I'll talk about the way forward. What is the way forward? Number 1, research and development. As Muslim professionals, we know that you cannot survive. You cannot survive. Islamic institutions will not survive unless they take a stand in as far as research and development is what? Is concerned. We cannot only do research about Hadith and the Quran, isn't it? We need to look into various aspects of life. We need to talk about domestic violence, but from an Islamic what? Perspective. We need to talk about women emancipation, but from the Islamic what? Perspective. And I thank the ladies who have come out to take a lead in as far as trying to destroy all the myths about feminism and what? And women emancipation. And those are the issues that we need to talk about. We need to talk about trouble. We need to talk about climate change. I can assure you, we cannot, where the world has reached, we cannot pray that the climate doesn't change, isn't it? We cannot pray about it. We cannot just keep our hands and say, we pray that actually we have more rain. The sheikhs have done that, but we need to take a stand in as far as getting the environmental professionals on what? On board. We will have to plant trees than actually putting our hands up, isn't it? We need to do that. So we're not going to talk about the lack of Islamic credit, and all we do is what? To teach about it and not provide what? Solutions. If we fail to provide solutions, even the solutions which will be provided by non-Muslims will not fit into the context of the Islam that we want to have in the next 20 years. Number 2, regional and decentralization of leadership. All of us have done the professionalism, the technical issues. We are only centered in Kampala. And you might actually think that the whole of Islamic leadership has to be in Kampala. You can actually think all Muslims live in what? Live in Kampala. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Why? Because let me tell you, there are millions and millions of Muslims across the what? Across in Masaka, in Kabera Maido, in Gulu, and all these need leadership. So if we don't decentralize leadership, the Corporate Muslim Association should do what? Should decentralize and try to go to Gulu. Are we together? And that is one of those things that, for me, should do a lot in as far as leadership and governance is concerned. Number 3, we need field-specific symposiums. Field-specific symposiums. I thank Thurayya. About 2 weeks ago, I was invited to have a talk in a major darus. And I had to tell people that I'm not a sheikh. Because what do they expect? They always expect a what? A sheikh. And all I wanted to talk about is social media addiction. And I'm telling you, not every sheikh can talk about social media what? Addiction. In these major darusus, we cannot go on and all we are talking about are spiritual matters, because remember, we are physical beings, isn't it? We are spiritual beings. We are social beings, and all these aspects of life need to be what? Attacked. In the interest of time, this is my last remark. If we don't try our level best to see that there is transparency, fairness, legislation, processes within which Islamic institutions and organizations work, the future of our children in as far as Islamic spiritual and developmental issues is concerned will go down the drain. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yes, thank you very much. Kindly, your phones are here. So we are standing between Juma and the next session. So trust me, I'll try to really moderate this session in 40 minutes. Then I'll have my other guests also react. But 2 things that I want to re-echo before we transition to a panel discussion. Thank you very much, Doctor, for that very insightful wake-up call, or reawakening, for lack of a better terminology, but it was reawakening indeed. And I want to just mention this reflection. Accountants, financial analysts, doctors, lawyers, architects, scientists, dentists, engineers, construction workers, nurses, authors, journalists, labor export directors who are running companies, academicians, gynecologists, school directors, restaurants and cafes, human resource specialists, counseling professionals. Where are these associations? ICT professionals, fintech professionals, bankers. Where are these Muslim field professional specific associations? Do we even have a database? Where are they? I'm in academics, partially academics. I'm into managed consulting. You'll find me doing so many things. I'm in the community. And I want to state that last week, me and my colleague, Sheikh Mohammed Abdueli, we realized one of our friends came to us and said that Muslims are starting up schools. Literally every Muslim name is becoming a school. Sumaya, Shamila, Nabil. But everyone is starting a dual curriculum school. And most of these schools are in silos. And many of us are pulling our kids from other schools. And these are directors. They have loans. And many of them are looking at these clients, but because we are now inspired by the path to look out for the dunya and the akhir, we are pulling their kids. And most of these schools do not actually meet the basic minimum standards in as far as the Ministry of Education, specifically the Education Standards Agency, are concerned. And many actually are querying the sources of our income, because they were saying that we're looking at your banks accounts. Your bank accounts have 1 billion shillings, and yet these are the traditional schools that have been there for years. the quality of your teaching, the quality of your facilities are wanting, the qualities, you're not even following our curriculum to the dot. Your values, your standards, the hygiene, let's not talk about the hygiene. And they're saying that if you do not organize yourself, we don't even know, first of all, we don't even understand the Islamic theology curriculum. Who are you teaching and what are you teaching? Sheikh Mohammed Abdueli responded, and for me that was leadership. And last week we gathered 20 directors of Muslim dual curriculum private schools, and we now have an association, and I'm happy to say that I'm the general secretary of the association. So, and he is the chairman. So, and one of the things that we're looking at is it's one thing to start things, but how do you secure and maintain them, then grow them to the other level? So where are these associations? Education and Media is a transformative agency. Where are the Muslim media agencies? Where are the engineers, Muslim Engineers Association? I don't want to say much and open up a discussion, but I have a very interesting panel. Allow me invite the following to join me on the high end with no order of announcement. I just want to highlight. So Hajat Shamira, she's the managing director and founder of Pivot Pay. So Hajat Shamila, wherever you are, please join us. A big round of applause to Hajat. The little I know about Pivot Pay is, as you know, it's a digital payment platform. That's what I guess. And it has been very instrumental in helping young Ugandan professionals to save, more especially those who are working in the diaspora. That's the little I dug about. Sister Hajat, you're welcome. So I have Engineer Shaban Sengendo. Engineer Shaban Sengendo, he works with peer systems, and he also works with Kisasi College. We all know Kisasi College. For some of us who know Haj Seragala, Honorable. So engineer, you're welcome. Then we have Council Siraj Katantazi. Council, many of us knew Council initially in his teaching role, very active. He has so many students in the room, I guess. But he's the head of commercial department at Senkumba and Company Advocates. A big round of applause to Council Senkumba. Then my last panelist is Dr. Ashraf Mutaguya. He's a lecturer at IUIU. He teaches Islamic law, and he's one of our sheikhs on a regular basis who is very instrumental on issues of Islamic, general Islamic jurisprudence, but he was initially part of Hijaz, and he was doing a lot of work in that particular area. So if you don't mind, please kindly join us. I'm going to request that Dr. Mujabi come back again on the floor. You can join us, and we can use that as an opportunity to interact and take a few notes as well. So it's 11, so I promise, inshallah, to keep this panel in 40 minutes. And then we will also have an interaction in 20 minutes, because we are standing between Jum'ah and other commitments. And like I said, I want to thank everyone who has been part of the thinking and the convening process of this meeting. May Allah reward you. We can't reward you. For us, we are weak human beings. May Allah reward you abundantly, and whoever has invested in this process, and for those who have really come to share their insights. I just want to, you could pick a mic, so kindly pick one mic, Hajat, so the other mic will be roving from the other side. Yeah, you'll remain with a mic. So 2 mics will be used. Okay, you already have a mic? So Hajat, I want to invite you to share your insights, basically the general understanding we had from the contextual presentation. I mean, let's begin from the point of what do you make of Dr. Shafiqi's presentation in 1 minute? I guess. Take, are the mics on? Mic? Okay.
It's finally on. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Am I audible? Everyone who knows me a little about me knows.
Can we hear Hajat at the back?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear Hajat at the back?
Up to the way up to the back.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Right. Thumma salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. I pray that Allah guides us and gives us the wisdom to discuss openly, honestly, and with the best of intentions, inshallah. What I think about, it's thought-provoking. I think for me, that's bottom line. It's thought-provoking. There was a lot of questions, a lot of nuances that I think if we took the time would literally keep us here for an entire week, discussing so many of the questions that he was putting across in his speech. I don't know if I should say this now, Sheikh. Am I allowed to?
What is one thing that stood out for you in his keynote?
I think it's basically that we're stuck between the historical and the spiritual, vis-a-vis the future, and the need for technological leadership and governance.
Okay.
And so maybe before I proceed, I had been asked to prepare something small, so probably it would give more context
maybe
after, so then we can.
No, I'll come back to you. So just pass the mic to Dr. Ashraf. Yeah. So Dr. Ashraf, what do you make of Dr. Mujabi's keynote? In a minute.
Alhamdulillah, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Mujabi, from the position where I'm as a sheikh, has challenged sheikhs, and he is not convinced. We are suited to guide, given where we are right now, and I think that's a very good challenge. I hope to navigate more of what he actually meant. Personally, I believe it is the society that makes its scholars. If you don't challenge the sheikhs, they cannot stand up the occasion.
Thank you. Good insight. So pass the mic to Engineer Shaban. What do you make of Dr. Mujabi's keynote?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Now, first allow me to thank Doctor for his very insightful and quite passionate deliverance. What I picked is he is imagining, in his submission, he was trying to imagining the power that lies in the untapped potential of the Muslim Ummah, or of the Ummah, that is only being, it's not being exploited fully due to the differences in maybe leadership, or due to the differences in people not believing in the partnerships and getting together. So he was trying to open our minds to the fact that there is so much we can do as an Ummah, because first of all, in this Uganda alone, we might be the biggest spenders of money, we might be the biggest businessmen, but our presence is not being felt because we do not have something that brings us together. In your opening remarks, you talked of where are the institutions, where are the collaborations, where are the associations, and that is the same feel that I have, because if we did indeed have these things that bring us together, I think would be a powerhouse. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. You can just pass the mic to the council, then I'll come back to Hajjat as well. So in a minute, what do you make of the keynote of Dr. Shafiq?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allow me use part of my minute to welcome Amir Ummah, Sheikh Yunus Kamuga. He has joined us. You are most welcome, Sheikh. That said, I listened with a heightened sense of interest. And I think Dr. Mujabi is coming from where we all come from, where we think that there should be a particular person who does this. You question without offering alternatives. So when I looked at today's topic, I asked myself the following questions. How can we seek to sustain real Islamic values in a world of rapid and dramatic changes without holding the modernization and development of contemporary Muslim managed organizations? That is one. Two, Why do we think that we can divorce Islamic principles of leadership and governance from what is referred to as modernity? 3, have we considered the Islamic leadership model? Have we tried to apply it? Is it possible to apply it? 4, have we tried to understand and study alternative Muslim contemporary settings and how they've tried to implement these in their cultures and daily lives? Because we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We know that Islam has gone through a process of transformation from when the Rasul was the leader of the Ummah to the Rashidun Caliphates, to the Umayyads, to the Abbasids, to the golden days when Islam spanned half of the world. When did we lose it? Can we go back and interrogate those aspects and try to integrate them into the contemporary world? And lastly, in this Uganda, at what point do we think that we should take the mantle if we've not taken personal initiative to try to marry our Islamic spiritual beliefs with our acquired worldly skills and competences? To me, I think those is where we should be discussing, and that is where the focus should be. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Good thoughts. So I want to invite Hajat to highlight one of the major things that was discussed in the presentation of Dr. I guess touches on do we even have governance do we even have, first of all, do we have institutions? That's one question. The one thing that is more clear is we don't have clear associations. I want you to guide me whether we have an Muslim Engineers Association. Do we have one? If we don't have these institutions, or if the institutions we have that are spiritual, the key issue is, okay, so for us to have these institutions, how effective should they be? And what are those principles that we need to be aware of as we think about forming these partnerships or these institutions? So I think the mic is yours, so you can use your 2 to 3 minutes to try to...
Can I negotiate for 5, just 5?
I'm actually, because I'm standing between Juma,
I am the
mic
only
will come back, the mic will come back to you.
Rahma towards women, I'm the only female.
Oh, really?
Can I blackmail you on that at least?
I don't think I'm easily...
Come on.
No.
Anyone in support of I? See.
The eyes never have it with me.
Come on, leadership.
Okay, so inshallah, tafaddal.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very big task for me to summarize this in 3 minutes. I'll try. True, but I'll try, inshallah. So for context, my name is Shamila again. I am founder and currently managing director of Pivot Payments. We are the only, and I will repeat that, we are the only Muslim-founded fintech licensed by Central Bank of Uganda. Only, and I'll say that very painfully, not proudly. We are 180 plus fintechs in Uganda. 27 are licensed.
When you say fintech, what do you mean? Break it
Financial
down
technology. Further. Anything to do with mobile money, anything to do with payments, anything to do with card processing. We're only 27 licensed out of 180 plus, and we're only 1 Muslim founded, and only 3 female founded. So on both female and Muslim, I'm the only one. That having been said, I want to draw from my experience and address the concerns of leadership and governance. Most people think leadership is holding an office or their name, CEO, MD, head of this, HR, right? Most people think governance is just going around telling people what to do. It goes beyond that. So let's first define what an institution is. Anything that puts people together for a common goal is an institution. We live in a country where we also have an institution for the ladies of the night. That is also an institution, like it or not. Governance basically means the orderly manner, process, and procedure of doing things within an institution.
Now, what are the myths that have typically been associated with us as Muslims? One, and for me this is very painful, that's why I said I'll try to summarize, that we are not educated or skilled enough. We have so far shown that that is a myth, very unfounded. Two, that we do not have the mobilization capacity. It's very rare that you'll find us meeting outside of funerals and weddings. 1 out of 10 gatherings is either a wedding or a funeral. Only 1 out of 100 is going to be such a gathering. Therefore, when do we build capacity? The other is that we're not formal enough, and for me that is where I want to start up. Formalization means what? I hope you understand Luganda, and for the audience again, I want to sneak in a few words of Luganda. Formalization means take kumutindo oguli acceptable. I want to speak so that someone can understand me. Today is where you find someone running a business and they've not registered that business. They do not even have bookkeeping, basic bookkeeping. They do not have audit. They do not have reports. They do not have structures. And so when Islamic Bank came, I saw a lot of people saying, yay, to the next thing. But when Islamic Bank came, the things that they're going to ask is, first let's look at your governance. When they're asking for governance, the first thing they're going to ask for is formalization. Is your business registered? No, you can register your business. Do you do bookkeeping, or you're still with Haja and the second sticky note, Makalekela secretary, or money allow conception and then time? Okay? Are we, in terms of human resource, I want to challenge how many of us here have structurally pivoted towards Islamic ethics and procedures within their businesses? Human resource hire Muslims. They will have to fit within that institution. You do not expect, because you're Muslim, you're going to go and change DFCU, you're going to go and change Centenary Bank. No? How many of us have companies have said, I am going to run this company and I'm going to embed Islamic procedures in this company. And therefore, when you're hiring and you're looking for the skill set, it will only fit that. So let us not build hospitals and then start looking for teachers to run that. Within the organization, pivot yourself to have the Islamic finance. I want to challenge educationists. Tusomesa abana zonali mu primary batusomesa IRE ne Islam, right? What's the other one? CRA. At that basics, I was taught who their God is, who mine is. Why can't we provoke changing the curriculum to teach Islamic finance at that level, at the very basic, the basics? What is Islamic finance? So that one anewa fuluma mu P7, senior 4, senior 6, amani Islamic finance, the basics of a contract. Most of us only stop at riba. But when man call a contract, no muntu ngena muzimbira kizimbe. Ngenda mu nemba ngenda musalanga ndi musawo. I mean finance and technology. What are the foundations? What are the foundations of that contract? Fena basinga tetubimanyi. What is a contract of sale looking like? We don't all do businesses when we are borrowing, but we are doing businesses with money. So when we are talking about governance, what are the structures in your institution? They could be there on paper. On paper. But in principle, are they there? Do you have the discipline to say as an MD, probably you're not even a signatory on the bank account? Do you have the discipline to say that when they call for a meeting, it's at 8 a.m., you will be in the boardroom or in the meeting room at 7:45? Or you are that person who is always permanently going to be 8:15? Do you have the discipline to say, are you going to be that person who is saying, this is how I'm running my institution? In terms of governance, what are the basic structures that you should be looking at in your company? Why are we not sustainable? Because we live in what they call a livelihood emergency.
What happens after you die? If your company is built on Shamira, have you tested yourself n'ovawuninga bwenvawo emyezi 3 company eno esigalawo oba tekola ki efa? When we are talking about institutional leadership, we should plan for succession. Like he said, people personalize change. Omuntu yamugamba vaako nagamba asijja kuvaako nze nja kulonda ani addako. Chichongo omuntu oyo a trustee. Can we all accept first and foremost that as leaders, we are simply trustees? Trustee kitegeeza okuuma. Bwe abaana obeera mukuza si kyekyo tobeera taata waabwe. So as a leader, the first rule of thumb, you're a trustee. When you're planning, plan for today, plan for tomorrow. Legacy webeerawo nti nga BMK weyavaawo weeri oba tekola ki? Jessa weeri oba teriiwo. Nannyini essomero bw'anaafa director Saapolo Kaggwa weegali amasomero oba tegakola ki? When you look deeper, governance or the systems are already put in. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much, Hajat. I want to give Hajat a big round of applause. And in the audience, we also have House of Zakah individuals or directors here, and they've really pioneered the bit of, I think, tech Zakah or fintech Zakah. So I just want to also applaud them in that particular regard. So I want to move the mics directly to Dr. Mutagubia. I mean, to give us a sense of the Islamic perspective of, more especially the ethic, first of all, is the Islamic dimension of leadership in these issues. Do you feel that, I know you know of a friend who is an engineer. I know that you know the friend I'm talking about. This engineer is a Muslim, and when it comes to his construction sites, they are temporarily musallas. For example, if the workers take a break and pray, and most of these workers will be more ethical and they will not steal the cement. And for me, the bigger question that I kept on asking, that do we have a Muslim engineers association, mechanical or civil or any other forms of association? And the general sense was we don't have one. And then my other question would be that if I go on councillors and others, so, but for me, what are those general ethical dimensions that we need to think about as we think about institutional leadership or leadership, connecting what Hajat was saying and Dr. Mujabi? You're welcome. Kindly use your 2 or 3 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, that is a very interesting question, Dr. Ahmed. And why it is interesting is that the Islamic State starts with the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who first set up the first institutions of Islam. So it starts with epistemologically, Muslims believe that al-ilmu qala Allah wa qala Rasul. Knowledge starts here. What does Allah say? What does the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? This is how we view knowledge. And of course, later maybe we can elaborate more on that. And it's problematic when most Muslims in Uganda have been nurtured through a secular system that might not subscribe to that kind of religious idealism that is Islamic. And I believe that is going to be a challenge that can sometimes create conflict. Why? Because the sheikh comes from one side and has been nurtured by a different system, and then we have another person who is Muslim and has deep faith and has been nurtured by a different person. But going back to that, the Prophet starts the institutions with what Allah says, and you realize at a certain point what happened was the Prophet promised the followers something, and then the message delayed and he did not add, he did not concoct. If he was a false prophet, he would have said something. Allah tested him with that period where Jibril was not coming. And people are waiting. You told us your God is going to do this and said, and that kind of truthfulness is very important. So everyone that is trying to start up something needs to understand that every institution whose purpose is to elevate Muslims or the Muslim status has to have a Sharia component in it. And when the Prophet says, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya, the heirs to the prophets are what? The scholars. They don't inherit money, but the knowledge. We need to be deliberate while discussing these things. Every institution should comprise a Sharia governance structure to guide us in whatever we do.
When you say a Sharia governance structure, what does that mean?
A body of knowledgeable people in the Islamic law or in Sharia that has the right to supervise and also advise the institutions.
But people will tell you that this is not an Islamic country.
These are Islamic institutions.
Can we talk about Islamic ethics embedded in a profession?
Before you go any further, there is a problem at that level, and I'm glad that you are a student of international law. There is a problem when it comes to that. How do we read the Sharia through the modern state? We have a problem here, and we have Muslims in Uganda who actually believe that we need a Muslim president to be Muslims in Uganda. And they are so angry, probably in some forest, working so hard to establish an Islamic state, because we don't understand how the Islamic international relations work in the modern state. So when we talk about Uganda, we talk about Islamic institutions and Muslim institutions. We are talking about a country that has let this meeting happen. Muslim professionals sitting right in the capital city of this country. You cannot then make a claim that we are not in a Muslim country, so my business cannot be Islamic. And I wish to challenge everyone on that, because no one will enter. And I have counsel here who is an expert in commercial law. There is the law of contract, both in Islam and in law, provides for people to contract upon that which they want. You can't say that I have a contract under Mudaraba, for example, and then the government is like, that is not Islamic finance. You can do your business the way you want to do it, as long as it's on paper. And it's not, of course, contradicting any act or a spiritual law. And I think we need guidance here. So I still emphasize that whoever wants to talk about institutionalizing and Islamic institutions has to factor in a structure and policies that are going to ensure Sharia compliance. And when that happens, then we can be able to monitor the Sharia ethics. I will just leave one hadith. If you want to be good as a Muslim and as an institution, at an individual and an institutional level, there is only one hadith, which is in Sahih Bukhari. I think it's the hadith of Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, Ayatul Mu'min, Ayatul Munafiqi, Thalath. How do you spot a hypocrite? So we should stop being hypocrites. How do you spot a hypocrite? What happens? Either, I need to challenge you, because that is a basic hadith. So how do you know a hypocrite? إذا حدث كذب.
When he says it's false.
When he says, he's not actually saying. What he is saying is not being said. So what he should say is not being said, and he says something else. And second, وَإِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ, there is breach of contract, there is promises that are not real, and then you want to set up a structure. And lastly, what the Prophet said?
The second one is when he promises, he breaks.
Okay. I use the different language to mean that. And the last sign the Prophet said was, إِذَا أُتُمِنَ do I need to it feels like the audience already knows the hadith. So I will focus on that. My humble request is that hadith alone, Sheikh Ahmed, should be enough to better our institutions. Say what you mean, promise and fulfill, and trust. Otherwise, there is no trade. The two principles in both commercial, Islamic commercial law and commercial law, the conventional, any trade has to have two components. we need to maintain two things. A surah, speed, we should be fast at transacting, and this is where we should be the best at fintech. And the second thing, al-i'timan. I'timan, those letters in Arabic mean trust, they also mean creditworthiness if you're talking about finance. Now, we should be able to trust you such that we can do business very fast. The moment we spot that there is no trust and there is no speed in what we are doing, we're going to be slow forever. Thank you.
Appreciated. A big round of applause to Sheikh. I entirely agree with you. When we were talking to the school directors, and there were concerns that Olina Gama and Basomesa International curriculum, but then when you go there, it's something different. Kukalango natika ko swimming pool, na kugama and school fees, it's 1 million, but when you go there, it's something different. And I think for me, these are very critical concerns. Of course, that's why we thought about having an association, and these are some of the things we can address. And I like the idea that how do we integrate the Sharia compliance within our line of work, and I think for me that's a good takeaway. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. I see Elias Mwanawani. He's very, Elias has been doing a lot of work with IIT, International Islamic Thought. For some of us who had an opportunity studying from the other side of the world, there's a lot of experience of how the Muslim Americans were able to start up things like these. When they moved to the US, they started up associations, counselors, and all these, and then eventually moved into fintech, and now technology, and mostly from India, and mostly from one part of India, which is majorly Muslim, and then some of them, the Dr. Haifas came from Iraq and all that. So it's really interesting, and all that was investments of a movement that started in the 1970s. And they even went ahead and started real estate from an Islamic perspective, schools and other things. These are good examples to think about, and Elias actually is one of the major students in our region, and he's with us here. That's the power of networking. So without wasting time, I want to pass the mic to Engineer Shaban. Engineer Shaban, you spoke about collaborations and partnerships. One thing that Dr. Shafiq says that you cannot tell me that Muslim doctors in the whole of this country don't, maybe they have an association, let's assume they do, I know they do. I don't know whether they have an association, lawyers, architects, scientists, dentists, engineers, construction workers, nurses, authors, journalists have one. Led by export, for example, in this country that generates close to $1 billion shillings, $1 billion US dollar, $1 billion in our investment. Literally close to about 60% of these who create jobs for the people abroad are Muslim businesses. I don't know whether they have an association. If they do have an association, whether Muslims have an association, making sure that the Sharia compliance aspect comes in here. And human resource specialists, counseling professionals here. I see my counselor friend here, restaurants and cafes, halal aspect. We lost the halal economy. So where are we? And talk us through on what are those, why do you think collaborations, partnerships, and the importance of us coming together, what are the other ways we can leverage and take advantage of these opportunities to strengthen ourselves and also make a contribution to our country?
Right, thank you so much. I must say this topic for me, it rubs a very deep part of my heart, because I want to believe I am what I am today majorly because of collaborations and partnerships that I have been able to establish along the way. I believe so much in partnerships and collaborations because I believe if we as human beings can develop a central nervous system that can be able to support and encourage each other to be better human beings, I think it is a very important thing for us to have. So when we read this to the Muslim community, I have seen collaborations and partnerships happening all over the world. Yeah, I have read about collaborations when it comes to Islamic banking, Islamic finance. I have seen collaborations, countries coming together, Islamic countries coming together. However, the case in Uganda is a bit different. Like you mentioned, we are as if hesitant to try and collaborate with each other. And I understand there's a lot of limitations that come with this. I understand there's a lot of fears that come with people relating with people, and you know, but I believe if we develop this central nervous system, I think the key word here is a central nervous system, because you know, scientists tell us the central nervous system is the part of the body that literally organizes and controls every part of the body. So if we develop as Muslims, if we are able to develop that sense of feeling, that sense of togetherness, that sense of belonging, that you know what, this is my person, this is a fellow Muslim, if we can come together, the challenges that we face as individuals can turn into opportunities. So I look at this as, imagine a beautifully woven cloth with each thread representing a different institution with its independent strength. I don't know, that's the analogy that I'm trying to bring. Imagine a cloth beautifully woven with different threads, but with each thread representing a different institution that is a powerhouse in its own regard. For example, my neighbor over here, Hajjat Shamila, she's in fintech. I am in security systems and technology. And I don't know if you know, but you've been able to give me a job before. I have done some work for her. And I have never met her, to be honest. I have done work for her. I did access controls at Pivot. Like 2 years ago, I have never met her. But imagine if we...
Let's just give it a big round of applause on that.
Yes. I have done access controls for her.
And I just want to say that thank you for supporting a sister as well. And the sister, thank you for also putting the money back into the Ummah as well.
Yes.
So the Ummah needs money, yeah?
The Ummah does need money. Because you see, when we are able to support each other, and I'm relating this to the partnerships, if I had known, I heard about Hajjat Shamila when I was getting the job, but I was getting the job through a third party, yes? So I did not understand, no, that's fine. I did not understand that maybe the relationship, maybe if I had known Hajjat Shamila, and if maybe we had had a conversation or an interaction before, maybe I would have executed the job better than I did, in a way. You know what I mean? No, it's not corruption, but listen, I think doing business, I have come to realize that there is a lot more to do with the personal relationships when we are doing business. There is a lot more to do with personal relationships. The way you do business with someone, when you have established an elaborate relationship with someone, is a bit different from, you know, someone that you just want to get money from. So so I think it's very important for us as Muslims to realize that there is strength in unity, there is strength in partnerships, and all these challenges that we face as individuals can be opportunities. Recently, I got an opportunity that came my way. They wanted us to do solar lighting in Kampala, Entebbe, and then also, you know, the CBD. And in my small capacity, I did not know how I was going to do it, because they were saying the financing was going to come through, was going to be recouped through advertising and whatnot. And I was like, where do I start from? This is over 100,000 lights, big project. However, there is a gentleman, a Muslim, he's a managing director at a company called Mad Makan. It's an advertising agency. They do a lot of PR and whatnot. So I was able to talk to him, you know, and interface with him, and I'm like, you're into advertising? How about we do a joint venture? We call it a GV in our business terms. How about we do a joint venture where you bring on the speciality that you bring on when it comes to PR and whatnot, and then me, I am the king when it comes to solar lights and security installations. Let's see how we can brainstorm, bring up knowledge, bring up resources, pull resources together, and see how we can be able to do this business. So I think it's important for us to be able to, as Muslims, because it hurts. It hurts because right now in my circles of friends, I can say we are not so many Muslims that are into business or doing business together. Okay. And this is the young generation.
I'm going to engage you on that.
Yes.
So in your circle of friends, as engineers who are doing lighting, or engineers doing tech, engineers doing what?
So it is a mix of so many things.
What does that mean?
We have so many different professionals. We have doctors, we have businessmen, we have plumbers, we have a couple of different professionals.
Association of Muslim Plumbers. Okay, so that's...
We can have an association, But then the point here is that if we, and yesterday actually I was talking to another group of my friends the other day, and then I was telling them, how about every Friday after Asri prayers, why don't we meet for just an hour as Muslim brothers? Because we're always meeting. We're always meeting when we meet with different friends, you know, we meet at restaurants and whatnot. I was like, why don't we get an hour in a week to just sit down and first of all remember Allah, but also see how best can we improve ourselves in the community and how best can we improve and push ourselves, because guys are doing big things and you know we are slacking behind as Muslims.
Cool. Thank you very much. A big round of applause to Engineer Sheikh Bendo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. So good things actually happening. Graphic designers. I just saw one of the best Muslim graphic designer there working in Adil. Adil, just say salam to people. So where are the Muslim graphic designers who will help us to design things that are a bit better? But key things that you mentioned, if she's the only Muslim women and women fintech that has been certified and approved by the Bank of Uganda, where are the rest of the Muslim women if they are out there, or where are the rest of the women if we have to think about them? But critical issues that you highlight, it's the power is in coming together in an orderly way. Things that bring you together to fulfill a certain passion or purpose, but being done in an orderly way, and then just to plug in what the Sheikh says, in a Sharia compliant way. In other words, how do you integrate in those aspects? And I think for me, those are critical aspects. I just want to pass the mic to Council first, then the mic will bounce back to Doctor, and then I will have to open up a Q&A and maybe before I get into a Q&A, there's a burning hand that wants to corrupt me, but I will just pretend that I'm not seeing that. But Council, you really have, I mean, you have those opening statements in about 3 minutes. Just sanctify your thoughts and see how we can proceed. You're welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I want to give this a little bit of background and perspective. I am by training a physics math teacher, and I did teach, I think, physics and math with excellency. I have a couple of my students here, they can testify to that.
Yeah.
I have lots.
Okay, so if you were here. Once his
if you ask me to ask them to stand up,
okay, please, if you don't mind, just stand up for recognition and mashallah. Mashallah. So
okay, I have 3, but I'm sure there are others who don't want to stand up.
Yeah,
I moved from teaching physics and math because I challenged myself to becoming a certified, internationally certified accountant and an SCCA. I wasn't satisfied with that because I was thinking of how do I build my competence and become helpful to the society and stop lamenting about the problems that keep on hitting at our community. So I then moved from SCCA to do a master's in financial management and majored in financial and taxation. I wasn't still satisfied. I said one more thing to go. At that point, I was bit between going vertically upwards and or horizontally. So I decided on remaining horizontal. So I took on law. And when I finished with law, I was almost done until I went into clearing and forwarding. So that is my dimension of the competences that I can bring on table. The reason I wanted to bring this is that I started asking myself that after acquiring all these worldly knowledge and skills and where am I towards my Islamic knowledge? And I have delved into that without acquiring papers. And I want to tell you that the perspective I'm giving today are related to leadership and governance, because that is my niche, but from an Islamic perspective. So when we look at Islamic leadership, these are dimensions that we must be considering. 1, there is what we call the dynamic dimension. Here is for the individual to strive to thrive. I've never interacted with Haji Bakaruba, but I follow you because I take lessons from your journey. That is the dynamic dimension. Then we have the universal dimension. which is to attain farah, fi dunya wal akhirah. Because that is the whole essence. We do not only work for this world, but we work for the year after. Then there is the ethical dimension. That is to be righteous in your intentions and in your deeds. Somebody said, we do not operate in an Islamic country. You do not need to operate in an Islamic country for you to apply Islamic principles. In your dealings with the people, in your dealings with society, how do you apply the Islamic principles when you are contracting, when you are dealing with humans, when you are hiring? How do you bring the Islamic perspective into your leadership? That does not need to be at the national level. And then there is the continuity dimension. The fruits of your farah, both within this world and in the year after. Any corporate governance or leadership theory that we must develop must be one that captures organization performance today without undermining your spiritual beliefs. These are the perspectives of governance and leadership from an Islamic perspective. One, we must look to impart knowledge of management with an integrated approach. There are certain things we can pick from the contemporary world. We know that the theories that were developed by Drucker are recent, very recent. This is a gentleman who developed these theories in the 1960s. And yet, if you read the leading management theories, they are premised on Drucker. But we know there are Islamic leadership theories. Like, for example, the prophetic leadership model is on the principle of the Shura. How do we bring people with different competences and skills such that we have collective decision making? It doesn't appear like it's an individual personalized thing, but it is something that becomes institutional. And we are talking about institutional Islamic leadership and governance. Two, how do we enrich organizational theories with new paradigms of research and publication? And that is the part for me that was really, really very touching when Dr. Mujabi was making his keynote address. How many of us do research? Before I came for this presentation, I actually woke up at 3 because apparently I was out of the country and I knew about this. The organizers of this forum, the key organizers were out of the country and actually were beating about this. I had not made the preparation. But I said I have to wake up early such that when I appear, I don't appear to be speaking from my own ideas, but from ideas that have been developed, researched, and published. So how many of us delve into research before we make presentations? O3, apply these in your management styles and practices with both a spiritual and ethical perspective. And lastly, knowledge, skills, and abilities or competences must be routed, must be grounded in pleasing only Allah. When we are doing these things, we should do them with ikhlas, sincerity, and we should do it taking into account that ours, the core of our belief, is Tawheed. Without Tawheed, you cannot talk about leadership. Without Tawheed, you cannot talk about governance. Ladies and gentlemen, as I give back...
I just want to pause that for now, if in case you have your parting shots.
Okay, my parting shots are these. What are the Islamic value systems? Because every organization will tell you, these are our cores. And to me, these stand out. Amana, leadership is trust, right? Trust that you're going to guide the people that follow you, you're going to protect them, and you're going to treat them with kindness and lenience. 2, we must learn to know that leadership is also delegated authority. Khalifa, isn't it? Because Allah says, I am going to create man as a vicegerent, as a Khalifa, isn't it? So leadership is Khalifa. It is delegated authority. Responsibility, or what is called ihtisab. Sheikh, I'm not very good with Arabic language, but I'm working on that. Finally, it should be ibadah. Whatever you do, it must be ibadah. If you are not doing it for the pleasure of Allah, it is null and void. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. A big round of applause. Well, these are very good insights, but critical issues come through. One is the importance of coming together from the perspective of Islam, and then integrating in those dimensions. And I think for me, as we switch to the audience, one thing that keeps coming back to us is where are these professional communities, or where are these professional associations? Accountants, financial analysts, Muslim doctors, Muslim lawyers, architects, Muslims, former politicians, if they are there, dentists, engineers, construction workers, authors, okay, Muslim campaigners or labor expert academicians. One person was saying that, but we only have one known Gaina. If it's not Nema, then it's someone else. And I'm like, there are many others out there. Yes, someone says, yeah, there are many. And then the other question was, okay, so is there a way that I can just use my phone and just search for them, that if I don't find one, then the other one would say that, okay, my appointment is on, so you can come this time, or you find me here. Where can I find these Muslim Gainas who will say Bismillah and then make me produce a very good Muslim boy or girl? And I'm like, okay. But I just wanted to clearly highlight that where do we find all these people? Where do we... And for me, the key issue is, I want to share one example. One example that I want to share is, I don't know how many of you have heard about YSEV? YSEV. So I have, in my bit of other life, consulted, done some work for them. It's a group of people that are in Watoto Church. They started this YSEV, and the last time I checked, YSEV was, I know actually the leader, I didn't consult, but I used to share with the leader. Of course, giving ideas on the sides. But the last time I checked, that they were second to Wazalendo. Wazalendo is the army savings sort of credit. Yeah, they still are. So they have a model where you save for education, you save for marriage, you save for real estate, you save for all these so many things, medical and all that. So if you save, they've constructed villages where they come and buy land, then they plot, then they have their own construction companies, they have their own hardware companies, they have their own plumbers, they have their own schools. For example, one of their signature schools is Victorious Education Services, that has branches that are spanning, I think there's one in, about 11. So those are very critical things too. And I'm asking ourselves that kuntum khayra umma, yani aina umma ya shahna, okay? But anyway, you're welcome. So the audience, the floor is yours. So I will take 2 questions from the audience. Then I have Imam Kasozi online on Zoom. Then I'll also take Imam Kasozi. But I'll start with, also there's a power lady on the other side, Hajat in green. Your hand has been spotted. Then there's a gentleman in court there. Then I'll come back here. There are 2 ladies. There's a lady who is smiling there, and then I'll take the counselor. Then I'll go online and touch base with Imam Kasozi. So I hope you're able to spot yourself. So Hajat, the floor is yours. Are you audible enough? Can I have a moving mic? She's audible? I don't trust your audibility until you get... That one is, oh yeah, that's Dr. Hanifa? Yes, that one is audible, I know. Yes, you can ask your question from there.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum. I'll restrict to a question. When I allow you to speak, Dr. Hanifa, you will give us good things.
For me, my worry is, if we do not have the so-called central nervous system, the think tank, whatever we have discussed will remain here. Why? Because we have discussed such things before. Where is the think tank that can embed all these things? The think tank should, by the way, also be very gender sensitive. We have a problem. Muslim men start such things and they leave women behind.
Busy. They are busy at home. They are busy.
As we are busy at home, we should be able to do stuff because we have the brains. So for me, that's the only thing I wish comes out of this. But remember, the Muslim women are there and they are so powerful. Let's embrace partnership, collaboration other than competition. every school comes up and we are just competing. You know, collaboration. That's why our other colleagues, the associations are thriving. I know we have the Muslim Medical Association, but I don't even feel it. They call me to go and speak in the Protestant Muslim Bureau, Bureau. I've never spoken in the Muslim Bureau. Why? Maybe competition, maybe she's from this side. Let's leave that aside. Come up with our central nervous system, a think tank that will be multifaceted to be able to handle and take actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause. So I want to take this opportunity to recognize Honorable Latif Sebagala. Honorable, you are welcome. Honorable was the Wa alaikum assalam, and I think one of the pioneer imams at Parliament that I knew. So we have Haji Mayambala of Security Link. Haji Mayambala of Security Link is the pioneer. Wa alaikum salam. For those, he was the first person who invested in cleaning Kampala, Norema. Yeah, so before the others, he's the first person who brought those vehicles from Norway in cleaning our city and Mulago by then, and now he's also done a lot of work with labor externalization. The first people to take many, the Muslim imam who was, went viral when he was cleaning the mosque and then eventually became the imam. He's the guy who took that man to Qatar and is now doing a lot of work, and many people. So I want to take the second one. There was a gentleman in the suit, yes, the gray suit, yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. My name is Abdul Nasser Segawa. I'm the chairman Zakah at the Jam'iyyat Tabligh Dawa As-Salafiyah. And Alhamdulillah, I'm here with the Amil Ummah, Sheikh Yunus Kamuga. My take is, a lot has been said by the panelists. I'm grateful for everything they've pointed out. It's a pleasure that I'm here for the very first time in this kind of session, and to me most of the points were amazing, but most of the points were literally pointing at creating institutions that already live by the Sharia, that have the Islamic governance. My question to the panelists is, how about the already pre-existing institutions? The biggest challenge I'm facing is, as Chairman Zakah, in the Jam'iyyat Tabligh Dawa As-Salafiyah, it's already an existing institution that already has ways it's been working. Now here we are with a lot of people being brought onto board, and then we have to change a few things. And to me, I'm realizing our biggest enemy is not even the non-Muslims out there. Our biggest enemies are becoming the very Muslims we are trying to lead. Because everything we are doing that moves us towards change, maybe good change, people are fighting just because they've been benefiting from systems that are already broken and already work in a certain way. So maybe we should throw more light on this kind of thing. Thank you ever so much.
Much appreciated.